to record a video about for quite a while. And I'm purposely sharing this today on a day off that I'm having while my children are off school on their Easter holidays. I've recently run a 9-day intensive training course, another diploma course and a couple of seminars. I get typically 50 to 100 emails a day. I'm running a major convention later this year. I'm in the middle of a major research project, and my business thrives, but the kind of ensuing busyness poses some challenges. I've just committed to running an ultra marathon later this year, and I'll be raising funds for my children's school. And having been in discussions with the headmaster, and you know, hey, I've got two very lively, busy children, and a marriage to maintain, and this is really only a small insight into it right now, and I feel a bit pooped, and spread thin, and my brain is a little bit frazzled. So, and you know, I chose this, and I've had these types of typical scenarios in my life a fair bit. And how do I not go insane? How does anyone ensure that mental fatigue and psychological exhaustion do not occur and do not impair one's quality of health or life in general, you know, especially us therapists and us hypnotherapists. And psychological exhaustion, you know, typically gets brought on by perhaps some persistent relationship friction, a period of grief, constantly acting in a sort of carer role at work or at home. You know, when you feel like you've got nothing left to give, or your mood is persistently low, you know, perhaps even marked by feelings of depression or anxiety, you could be emotionally exhausted. It could be brought on by, you know, major demands being placed upon your time in a variety of professional or personal ways. And you know, high-achieving individuals often try to push through the early warning signs of chronic stress and burnout, pushing themselves to work harder, achieve more, take on longer hours and exceedingly heavier workloads, and not wanting to let others down and try and live up to enormous amounts of pressure that they often place upon themselves to succeed. And this can and does often lead to burnout. And that's what I want to talk about today. You know, burnout, it's a painful topic for me to write about or talk about, because, you know, as therapists, as hypnotherapists, we like to be upbeat and positive. Yet burnout, it's a very real, problematic, yet avoidable with the right understanding, awareness and tools. And one of the things I recognize a lot with the hypnotherapists that I mentor to develop their business and those that I supervise and those that I train is how crazy busy they are. They're often not effectively productive, but are incredibly busy, working long hours, trying to cram so much activity into their days, along with seeing their clients. And they're under pressure too. They're stressed and sometimes struggling to deal with it all, you know, and earn a healthy living at the same time. And, you know, this is a recurring theme among individuals in caring and therapeutic fields in general, you know, that of practitioner burnout. Therapists, coaches, wellness professionals are continually faced with job stresses, including clients, you know, running and growing their business. And that's often done in isolation, and sometimes with little business experience and only being guided by the many kind of false gurus out there. We often forget to delegate the non-money making tasks. And on top of this, you know, by nature of our sort of heart-based professions, we're continually exposed to emotionally draining situations and the numerous emotional vulnerabilities that form a large part of our profession. Across numerous studies, it appears that, you know, between 20 and 60% of mental health workers may be experiencing high levels of stress and getting close to burnout. Between managing clients, emotional fatigue from various distractions, stress is inevitable. Research stresses mental health professionals must recognize that they're only, you know, the only thing they can do is be aware of themselves. Marieke Ledingham, a lecturer in counselling at the University of Notre Dame in Australia, conducted a study of mental health workers in an attempt to explain why so many were suffering burnout in such large numbers, despite understanding its causes. And typically, mental health workers do not recognize the symptoms in themselves and often assume that burnout will not happen to them, according to Ledingham, rather than perceiving themselves as immune to mental distress because of their occupation. Mental health workers should consider burnout to be a major occupational health risk. And this sort of stress that us therapists encounter, if it becomes excessive, it's likely to create a reduction in our capacity to make effective decisions and think clearly. Stuff which is really important in our line of work. But despite this, many mental health workers and therapists are less likely than other caring professions to seek help before it gets to the burnout phase, for a wide number of reasons. Maybe a video such as this can start to help with raising awareness and offering some tangible assistance. At least that's my aim. Practitioner stress is often caused by time restraints, demands, pressures associated with the job. But while stress is overwhelming, it's not insurmountable. Practitioner burnout, on the other hand, is when we feel like we can't overcome the obstacles and we experience a sense of hopelessness. Burnout is often caused by heavy personal responsibilities and being overworked, perhaps irregular sleeping patterns and financial concerns. And as practitioners, it's important that we avoid getting to that point if we want to continue achieving our goals, growing our business in a healthy way. So, how do you prevent that? How do you prevent this practitioner burnout? What are your strategies? Managing stress in the workplace is incredibly important, not only for, your productivity in the office and within your business, but also for your mental health, for your well-being. And of course, therefore, ultimately, the well-being of your clients, your patients. Although experiencing stress is natural and can feel unavoidable at times, there's a number of ways to help reduce work-related stress so that it doesn't become burnout. It doesn't result in burnout. If you've been running on empty for too long and pushing yourself harder than is healthy or sustainable, which is typical of therapists, it's time to put self-care back into the forefront of your life. And I've got a few suggestions, some of which, you may not be incorporating, dealing with this stuff and avoiding burnout, and help yourself get right back up to speed and deal with the issues before they turn into much larger, more complex or debilitating health issues, for example. So you've got to stop and slow down, take a moment to hit the pause button on life and stop. Ideally, take a day out, take a weekend to yourself and intentionally do nothing or very little. Pause your commitments, pause your expectations, pause striving towards achievements, pause the never-ending to-do list, If you can't fully pause your life for a day or two, then slow down as much as you can. Like I'm doing today, for example, spending some springtime at the beach, paddleboarding with my wife, my kids. High achievers are used to a fast-paced and accomplishment-driven lifestyle and sometimes forget the importance of rest or they feel like slowing down is a waste of time or can't be justified into their busy schedule. The most successful people, when studied, find time to recharge, to be themselves, to rejuvenate and energize. You don't want to be chained to your desk, metaphorically speaking, of course. An editor at the Chicago Sun-Times, once said that he couldn't take time off. He was afraid the place would fall apart without him, and he was terrified that it wouldn't. And I felt like that about my own business, to the point where, holidays felt uncomfortable. If you think that the universe depends upon you, you're headed for a high-stress breakdown if you're not careful. Hire people that will do a better job than you ever could, for example. Celebrate their successes. Get out of their way. Hire people to do the tasks that can give you more time so that you can recharge your batteries regularly. And learn to say no. Learn to make saying no one of your favorite phrases that you're comfortable with, especially if you're feeling exhausted. If your immediate response to a request from someone else isn't, hell yeah, then it should automatically be answered with a firm but polite no. You can't pour from an empty cup. So, until you're in a healthier and more balanced place, adding another commitment or responsibility to your plate is simply adding more unnecessary stress to your life. Resist the urge to be a people pleaser and do absolutely everything that's asked of you, and start saying no. Get comfortable with it. And instead commit to relaxing activities regularly. Everyone's slightly different when it comes to things that make them feel better. If you're feeling exhausted, it's time to add in a few activities, on a regular basis that promote relaxation. Customize a list with regards to what works for you, and heck, you hypnotherapists, should be including stuff like self-hypnosis, mindfulness meditation, for example. And establish boundaries, because if you find yourself constantly thinking about work, replaying the scenarios of the day, having trouble sleeping at night, it might be time to set some boundaries, and again, these boundaries will be different for each individual, but it is important to set the right boundaries for you, for your career, and for your mental well-being. Even if you are in a role where you are constantly on the clock at times, ensure that you unplug from work, for a set amount of time each day so that you can recharge, even if that's just in between clients. Whether you decide to read a chapter of a good book, head to your local beach and spend time with your loved ones, or, go to a yoga class. This me time will draw a line between your work and your personal life, See if you can work out effective ways to compartmentalize your work, your business, and separate that from your personal life in order that you have an antidote to the stresses that you encounter professionally. Be honest, be open. If you truly feel that you're about to crumble, be honest with yourself. Most of the time, we have a fear, a fear that this will make us seem incapable of doing our job, especially as therapists. But you need to figure out what you need. Make needs known. Ask for help. Get comfortable asking for help. Whether you go to your colleagues, a supervisor, friends, or family, it's important to feel that you have an outlet to discuss your work and the stress it's causing. Being able to openly discuss the challenges that you are facing can work wonders to reduce your stress levels, having a good support network. It takes time and effort to maintain social connections, but supportive people are the best inoculation against burnout. If you do not have a quality support network around you, then work out ways, as of today, this very day, work out some ways that you can get one established effectively. Ensure you have a supervisor and some supervision scheduled. Consider having a mentor of some kind or a peer group that you can speak to. And of course, look to friends and family to unburden yourself from time to time and help put things in perspective. But I think it would probably be remiss of me not to mention that I mentor hypnotherapists and I help share with them the process and the burdens of their business. You can visit my website or message me if you want more details on that. Although, you're probably used to being a highly dependable, count on you for everything kind of person. Therapists are. That's why we became that way. And there are times when it's just not possible to continue working that hard all by yourself. Sometimes giving up control, asking for help, leaning on others, delegating, outsourcing, learning to cut corners or lighten up the very high standards that you've set for your life can work wonders. That's my dog making that noise. Okay, my dog's here chilling me out. Establish short-term and long-term goals. More often than not, we feel pressured to accomplish more than we can realistically handle. It's important to organize your tasks, between those that need to be finished now and those that can be tackled a little bit later on. Prioritize your work. Organize your tasks into short-term and long-term goals. You know about this stuff as a therapist. Work out your daily, weekly, and monthly priorities according to your goals, and then be disciplined with them. Explore ways to be more productive too. For example, take a walk on your lunch break. Try to find some time on your lunch break or other times to take a short walk outside. Even if it is a short walk, the outdoors will do wonders for you. The fresh air, nature, the motion, the movement of walking, releases endorphins into your brain, which will make you feel more empowered and able to conquer your workload. And this is very evidenced. It's got a good evidence base to support this notion. A simple act of having a change of scene can help greatly. And it's one of the reasons that I love living by the seaside, for example, so during my working days and often straight after work, I get to walk and run along the seafront or play with my kids on the beach. And work feels like it's a million miles away. And it's good as well to have some time in nature and be switched off from electronic devices. Remember why you chose this path. Importantly, in most cases we're excited and happy once we make a new career choice. However, after some time, that excitement diminishes when we get settled into our routine. Remind yourself what it was that made you so excited and help you make this choice to be a therapist in the first place. Was it a chance to do some real good in the world? Was it that you derive a sense of joy from doing effective therapy and hypnotherapy? Something impassioned you about it. Was it relocating to a city you'd always wanted to live in? Was it to have life autonomy, as a self-employed individual? Whatever the reason, hold on to that. There's a reason that you are where you are. At one point, this is exactly where you wanted to be. Hold that perspective. And take care of yourself. I know this seems really obvious. Eating healthy meals, exercising regularly, drinking plenty of water, taking care of your own mental well-being are not only incredibly beneficial to your health, but can significantly reduce all those feelings of stress. When the body and mind are in good health, you're better equipped to handle stressful situations if and when they come your way, especially as a therapist and we're getting exposed to it. One of the coaches at the gym that I go to for strength training says something that always makes me smile. He says, "You're much harder to kill when you are stronger." You can only cheat yourself of the basic necessities for so long before your body starts to fight back. There's research that suggests insufficient sleep creates a greater risk of exhaustion. Start by prioritizing the easy wins that are going to begin to feel better immediately. Sleep as much as possible, eat as healthily as you can, drink plenty of water, and know yourself. I love that quote. Not until we are lost do we begin to understand ourselves, by the very brilliant Henry David Thoreau. So finally, most importantly, know the signs of burnout before it becomes an issue with you. We've all heard the story about the frog who was boiled alive in a pot of water, not noticing the heat gradually rising. The same is true for burnout, especially amongst therapists. If you don't recognize your signs of burnout or tiredness, stress, you won't be able to manage the risk and do something about it before it begins to affect your career or your business and your love of what we're doing here. So have some strategies in place that help you to check in with yourself, to notice and understand your experiences and recognize the symptoms, the telltale signs, and act upon them before they get worse. To start today. Think about how you can structure your schedule around managing particular trigger points that are unique to you. How can you better equip yourself to deal with setbacks and the draining nature of your work? Likewise, what energizes you and fills you with excitement and happiness and fulfillment? Is there a time of day or week that you are best able to handle these? And, how can you pad the bad stuff out with the good to reduce its impact upon you? As I'm hoping I'm giving the impression, knowing yourself is central to being able to do more of the work that you love. We love this field, and the way you love to do it is important. The world needs you. So make sure that you take care of yourself. And that's it. I'm off to the beach with my kids now. Do subscribe to this channel. Visit my website for details of my online and class-based courses. I'll send you my very best wishes. Goodbye for now.